Joe, this game, Auburn versus Arkansas, has had some of the goofiest things that have ever happened. Like I remember a few years ago when Bo Nix, who spiked the ball backwards, fumbles it, spikes the ball backwards, should have been Arkansas football. Sam Pittman losing his mind on the sidelines. This one always has something outright goofy in it, and I wonder if it's going to have it here. Now, Arkansas last week struggled against UAPB. We talked about just a minute ago in our other segment about them going up to Stillwater and Oklahoma State and finding a way to lose, okay? But we saw a lot of really good things out of Arkansas, things that maybe we thought that we wouldn't see from them. Their running game was really good. But then last week they struggled against Trent Dilfer's team in UAB. I look at this game. Auburn goes into it. They change at quarterback. Hank Brown's had a really good game last week against New Mexico. When you break this game down from start to finish, how do you see it breaking down?
I got to be completely honest. This is probably one of those games this year, especially early on, where
you have no clue.
Yeah, I think it can go either way. I think both these teams are dealing with issues. I think both these teams can't really figure out their identity, and they can't play consistently. Like that's probably the biggest problem in Arkansas. Up until the second half of the Oklahoma State game, they looked like they had the makings of being at least competitive this year, and then since then, they've been super, super messy. The rushing attack's still great, and that's why I very slightly lean, and I'm talking about 51% to 49%. That's how slight of a lean this is. I slightly lean Arkansas in this game if they can eliminate the amount of dumb mistakes and penalties and turnovers, which is asking a lot. It's an important statement that I'm making right there, Auburn fans. That requires a lot for them to not do that. If they don't do that and they make the same mistakes, Auburn wins the football game. But if they play just a little bit cleaner, the way that Cal was able to produce big chunk plays on the ground, the way that we even saw New Mexico able to produce extensions by their quarterback on scrambles, and then also some chunk plays rushing the football, that bodes well for Arkansas in this situation for me. On the Auburn side of things, I'm glad that they switched to Hank Brown. I think that there has been already so much more juice in that offense, and the team feels a little bit better. And you've got a guy who's taking way less silly risks than Peyton Thorne. So Hank Brown could continue to build some momentum, and he could be a reason why they win this football game.
Joe, I don't want to overreact to a UAB game with Taylor Green, but my God, he looked bad throwing the football.
Yeah.
Since the first half against Oklahoma State, and I think teams started figuring him out. I mean, did you listen to Dilfer and them at the end of the game about how they stopped him? I mean, they literally just stacked the box, played man-to-man coverage, and said, beat us. I mean, he threw a really bad interception. The only interception that he had on the game was, I guess he was trying to complete the slant, and he just gets picked off, and they disguised it on a robber coverage. And look, I don't know what's going on there, okay? Because I look at Taylor Green and I say, dude, this kid from running the football aspect might be the most electric that the SEC can produce at the current moment. Like, he's up there with Jalen Milroe. He's up there with these guys that can really run the football at that position. I mean, last week he had 17 carries, 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But, Joe, I'm starting to worry about him a little bit throwing the football. And those are the things that I think that when a team like Auburn, who's really well coached, can do some really good things defensively. I think Durkin is a really good DC. Joe, I don't know if you don't figure this guy out pretty relatively quick. Mm-hmm. I mean, 11 for 26 against UAB is a bad look. It's a very, very bad look. It looks like that he is starting to regress just a bit after he started getting hit a little bit. Joe, Oklahoma State in that second half started hitting him a little bit, and the decision-making started to get a little bit worse. Here's the thing, though, man. That rushing attack for Arkansas is really good.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the bad performance he had. He also, which is true, he played poorly as a passer, but then it's funny to look at the box score, and he has 96 rushing yards. I know. Jaquindon Jackson goes for 147.
Yeah, on 15 carries. Look, man, their rushing attack is pretty flawless, and I got to give Sam Pittman this. Look, I think their offensive line is playing better than anybody in the country is giving them credit for. I think that they've been really good there at running the football. They have two backs that are 235 pounds plus. You know, the other kid that scored a touchdown last week is 253. Dude, they're going to go downhill at you. And I don't know over time if Auburn can keep up with that. Defensively, I don't know what Auburn's doing sometimes. Like, I'm watching their film this morning, and I'm like, what is Auburn doing? Like, what are they trying to accomplish? And especially like against Cal, last week against New Mexico even, I'm like, what are they doing here? Those are the things that confuse me. But, man, I'm with you on everything that you just said in reference to I don't know what to expect. Hank Brown comes in his first start. Joe, 10 players caught a pass from him. 10. How do you game plan against that kid? You don't really know what he's doing because he spread the ball around so much. I think, Joe, this comes down to who's got the better staff because I think there's a very evenly matched up game here. I think that both teams need this win very massively. I think Auburn needs it. I think Arkansas needs it. And I think that this game in and of itself is going to be one of the best in the SEC this weekend.
Actually, I'm going to flip myself in this kind of place.
Did I talk you into Auburn? Did I just talk you into Auburn?
No, you didn't talk me into one of the points you made kind of supported another thought that I was having. So here's my reasoning. And this plays into, seriously, like this plays into how hard of a game this is to predict because, again, both these teams are struggling with certain things. They're doing some things well. You're correct. Both these teams need this win. Arkansas needs as many saved victories as possible so that Sam Pittman can keep his job. This is not like Billy Napier where he needs to win a ton of games against a difficult schedule. If he finishes the year 7-5, I would argue Sam Pittman has saved himself for the rest of this season. But Hugh Freeze needs to already not place himself in a difficult spot going into year 3, and it starts with this game. I think on that vein, if I'm picking the better coaching staff, like you just said, I'm picking Auburn. And if I'm picking just the home environment, I got to give the edge to Auburn for being at home. So I slightly lean 51% in the direction of Auburn. This game could completely go either way because it all comes down to who plays the cleaner game, who eliminates the turnovers or minimizes them, who has less penalties, who plays better in their run fits on defense. All of those things come down to it. Both these teams have not done a good job of that. Whoever does it wins the football game.
Joe, this is something that I think is crucial and why I'm with you. I lean Auburn just a little bit. Last week, Dilfer and company, the motion and play action that they had confused the ever-living pooty-poo out of Arkansas. Like, brother, they were confused. They were getting lost in coverage. They were getting lost in man-to-man coverage. Hugh Freeze is going to 1,000% take look at what happened against UAB last week and Oklahoma State and say, wait a minute, this team's getting lost in coverage when it comes to the aspect of all of these motions. They are not communicating in the back end well at all. I have no idea what's going on there, but it's 1,000% what Trent Dilfer did. The jet motion sweeps that Dilfer and company, who's, look, Trent is what he is at this point, but the motions, the sweeps, the waggles, the boots, it confused them. It really confused him. And I don't think that Hugh Freeze is a guy that you can be confused about. And look, I do think that they have a massive upgrade in Hank Brown. I do. So how do you look going into another week with a new quarterback, another game at home? So, I have no idea how this game's going to play out because I think it can go play out in so many different ways. Here's what I'd say for Arkansas. Joe, if Auburn loses, it's going to be because Taylor Green and company are running all over them. And I think that they have had issues. Look, man, there are times that Cal lined up and popped them in the mouth. That ain't got shit to do with Peyton Thorne. Yeah. They ain't got one thing to do with Peyton Thorne. So now you're going up against a running attack that is very lethal. All right, you about to get punched in your mouth, and you better be ready for it. So styles make fights, and I have no idea what style is going to make to win this fight here.
I love that saying, and I think that applies to this game. You said before we started taping, I kind of was like, oh, these are a lot of weird matchups today. But you said that they were a lot of intriguing. Week. I think this is going to be a good game. It's just like your typical ugly mid-bottom third of the SEC matchup where we could have some separation where one team gets hot and the other one's kind of cools off. I think this is going to be an ugly, fun game. That's the best way to put it.
This is how I'm going to end it here, okay? the thing that I keep thinking about in this game,
Mm.
Arkansas has already gone on the road and played in a tough environment and did not finish. Can Sam Pittman rally his team, and how much did they learn from that experience? Right? Like, how much did Auburn learn from getting beat at home against Cal?
Right.
Those are just so many different things. That's why I keep saying that I think the better staff is going to win here, and we're going to find out who that is. All right. So you're picking Auburn, you said?
I feel kind of dirty about it, but yeah, I'm picking Auburn.
I do too. Why do I do too? Because you know why
I have no confidence in either team. That's the whole point. That's what I should have led with. I have no confidence in either team because
you did lead with that.
So. Someone's going to shit their pants. That's what's going to happen.
You know why I don't go out and full out right pick Auburn? Because they've looked chaotic at times. And then the second thing is, if that running game gets going for Arkansas, look.
Then it's like it's over. It's completely over.
Like, well, see, here's the thing. I could see it being a bloodbath in Arkansas winning. That's the thing that I would get to. You get what I'm saying?
Well, I can see this being like the Oklahoma State game where they're just cooking them on the ground, and then Taylor Green and everybody just starts making a million mistakes, and then Auburn come back. It's just such a weird matchup.
And by the way, to end this one up, this game has had more goofy shit than Hocus Pocus in the late 1990s. Okay?
Yep.
Just going to throw that out there. All right.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.